Rashi. Congratulations on getting shortlisted and successfully completing the few rounds of selection process. So glad to have you here.
Thank you. So glad to be here as well.
Great. Rashi, the entire objective of our conversation is I really want to know about your interview experience. So let's begin with what were the colleges? What are the colleges that you've been shortlisted for based on your aptitude score?
All right. So currently the shortlists I have are from IIM Vishakhapatnam, XIMB Bhubaneswar, um, MDI Murshidabad, IMT Nagpur and Hyderabad. And I have given interviews for NMIMS, TAPMI and GIM.
Okay, great. How was your? So, I want to know that what were the kind of questions that you were asked for the interviews that you've completed. So, if you could just, talk about the kind of questions that were asked. Also, if you could just mention that if there was something else rather than the personal interview involved in the as a process, as a part of the selection process.
Okay. So I guess we can start with the nursing admission process because that was the first one.
Okay.
According to the latest updates, the process had changed a little. So based on our NMAT scores, a few students had been shortlisted and they had to go through a competency test, an AI assisted interview, and a normal panel personal interview. All this was done in person on the same day.
Okay. So
Yes.
you had to visit the campus, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, so for the competency test, it was very straightforward. We had three sections: verbal ability, managerial ability, and something like an LRDI section. If we had given NMAT, we would do fairly fine in this test. It was not very groundbreaking. It was a 20-mark exam, 45 minutes, went pretty smoothly. There was negative marking, but you can attempt what you know. But it was pretty straightforward.
Okay.
Then comes the AI assisted interview. So it was in the same room. We had one panel member and a laptop in front of us. Our AI interview would happen first in the laptop. The panel would keep a track of what we're talking about, and they might ask you additional questions or follow-up questions. It varies from panel to panel, candidate to candidate. So for me in the AI interviews, they asked me questions like, you have a background in psychology, so what makes you pursue this course? Then there were a few questions related to Indian economy, how it is changing, and how is the global economy also changing, and how do they, interplay.
So one question based on your past experience, a past academic background, one question based on the recent happenings or the current affairs.
Yes.
Okay.
I also want to mention that if you tend to use more jargons or very technical terms in your answer, there will be follow-up questions. It happened to me and I was not able to answer it properly. So if you are unsure of the concept, do not mention it in your AI answer because they will ponder upon it again. And another question was about Indian cricket. What is the scenario like currently? So these were the three major questions, and there were a few follow-up questions in between.
Great.
AI interview.
So that is about the NM. So that was the AI based. So that might be like that was a great change. So for all our viewers, I would just like to highlight the fact the competency test was something that was implemented this year and quite impromptu post the NMAT exam was conducted and also the NMAT scores were out. And while the students, the aspirants were there to give the exam, they had no idea about what is going to be asked. So they were made to prepare on various aspects of the examination.
Yes.
Yes, Rashi. So can we move on to the next experience? Thank you so much for sharing your the questions that you just spoke about. But can we move on to the next institute and the questions related to it?
So the that I appeared for this study, it was again an in-person interview. The process was pretty smooth. We had a writing ability test followed by a group discussion. The topic for both remained the same. You will be taken to a room in groups. First, you will write the essay and then you will conduct the group discussion. Again, the topics vary from current affairs to abstract ideas. So my topic was, do Indian awards favor nepotism over talent? So I feel like everyone can talk about this topic. Everybody has something to say, and we're always exposed to, be it entertainment media, sports, or even national awards. So I think content-wise, the topic was quite good.
Can
GD
you just define, just for our viewers, ki how many people were there as a part of the group discussion? Like how many people, how many panelists, like the panelists to the group ratio? And if you could also tell us the time that you were allotted for the same, if you were given a pen and paper for the same as well.
So there were 10 students in each group with 2 panels. You were given a sheet, and as the topic was recited to you, you had 2 minutes to think about your pointers and then 10 minutes to write the entire ability test.
Great.
After this, they will collect your sheets one by one. It was a written pen and paper test. They would collect the sheets and they would just said that you can begin your GD, and you can just start. I would highly recommend you being the first one, like anyone listening, to be the first one to start because it gives you an edge. But yeah, that's pretty much it. They do not tell you for how long the GD is going to occur. They just tell you a minute prior that it's about to end and that you have a minute left. But I feel that it was around 10 minutes, 10 to 12 minutes, maybe. Yeah.
And can you tell us a little about the PI for
Yeah.
TAPMI and what were the kind of questions that were asked? And what is the program that you applied for?
Right. So I applied for the PGDM healthcare management. Sorry. I'm so sorry. I got confused. For MBA and MBA HRM.
Great.
Yeah. So after the GD, they take you to your interview panel rooms. You might have to wait a little while till the previous candidate completes their interview. As you enter, you have 2 panels. Mine was a male and one female. It could vary or it could be the same for everyone. Um, so for me, they directly started by asking a question about what I did after 2023, as that was my graduation year, and I had no official work experience because I have done internships. So they wanted to know what I've done after 2023. From there on, there were more additional questions about then why do you want to do HRM? Why is it your first preference? And if we give you MBA, will you take it or not? Then there was a question about what is one challenge that you faced in the workplace. And they might ask you more questions related to that if they do not understand what you're trying to bring to the table. But that's completely fine. It's just that because they want to understand your personality, they want to understand what challenges you faced, what strengths you applied, and what weaknesses did you identify during that process. Um, this was the first panel. These were the questions that she asked. The second panel asked me questions about what I want to do in the HR field and why I have chosen it. Also, a few current affairs. They asked me if I know why Infosys was in the paper recently. I said, no, I'm not aware. But then they let me take the platform and tell them about a few news that I was aware of. So I listed down 3, 4 news articles, I mean, and they were satisfied with that answer. After that, they wanted to know what is my 10-year vision. I told them, and I also mentioned that I want to work in the DEIB space, diversity, inclusion, equity, and belongingness. Related to that, the panel was aware of the situation that is going on in the United States of America. So they wanted to understand how I see this dynamic impacting the Indian corporate culture because there's always some relation. They wanted to understand if I know the scope that will be there in the future. At first, I was not able to grasp upon, the question and how I should take it forward. But the panel was actually kind enough to help me bring to the thought process, and I was able to give a satisfactory answer to the question. So overall, I think the panel was quite friendly, and they wanted to understand you, and there was no judgment in the room. So it was a
Great.
great experience.
Okay. I'm so
Yeah.
glad that the experience was great, the overall experience. So next is GIM, I am assuming. So
Yeah.
GIM or Goa Institute of Management, what is the program that you applied for and what were the kind of questions that were asked?
For GIM, the program was PGDM Healthcare Management. Yeah. The process was a little different. Everything was online. We first had a mock writing ability test, which is optional. You may or may not appear for it. Then there was the official writing ability test. You were given 30 minutes. There were 2 topics that we could choose from, and I think the word limit was around 300 words. Again, the topics can vary from person to person because the process happens over so many days. My topic was related to Sustainability. I am sorry, I'm not able to recollect the entire topic.
It's all right. If you can just give us a gist also, that works.
Yeah. Uh, I'm blank out of a second. Okay.
So one of the topics was sustainability, which probably you attempted, which is why you can
Yes.
recall the same. The other topic does not matter. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So the writing ability test was good. The platform was great. Very user friendly, very straightforward. It saves your response after 30 minutes. That's it. And then the interview was on a different day. Um, so for my interview, there were 3 people in the meeting. I'm assuming that 2 were the panels and 1 was probably a moderator.
Okay.
Both female panels again, probably from the HCM division itself. So the questions for this were more revolving around healthcare management. They wanted to understand my diverse background from psychology to doing HR internships to now why HCM, which went pretty smoothly. There were questions about what is healthcare according to you? Is it a dynamic field? Or does it have a proper definition? Some current affairs in the area. They also asked if I've gone through any audit reports because I mentioned a few schemes and I had not. So, like, they want to know if you're making a judgment based on just what you've read in the newspaper or the research that you've also done. So, I think that's one aspect that candidates can focus on. Other question was on what I've done at my work. What was my role? They asked me to run them through it. And what is one theory that I learned in psychology that I applied during my work or would have wanted to apply during my work? I mentioned the Maslow's hierarchy of needs and I explained how I would have applied it. There were very few questions. Most of them were follow-up or additional questions to the already asked questions. Again, it was pretty friendly. Both the panels were very lovely. They were smiling all the time. Again, there were no condescending comments or remarks. There was no, the environment was very light, you know. Yeah.
Great. So, very well explained, and you've explained all the questions, and I think you almost covered everything that you had been asked. Apart from that, I'm sure there were some questions which were based on your application form, your SOP, or your personal academic background. So, that is
Yes.
something that every candidate should definitely learn about or know about. So, while we already know this, can you share your, since you mentioned something at the end of every experience you shared that your interview experience was good on the
Hmm.
major side. Firstly, that. Secondly, you mentioned, you did not mention being nervous, shaky, or not adaptable or scared of the fact that there was a sudden change in the selection process, which you came to know when you stepped in because these were impromptu steps that were taken by the institute, right? So you managed that as well. Plus you said that unlike a lot of candidates who feel that the environment was very stressful, very the interviewers, the panelists are very judgmental. So it's like you appeared for 3 great institutes, and all 3 of them you did not face anything similar. So can you just walk us through the strategies that you used in order to keep calm, as well as how you went around your preparation, which helped you maintain this calm and this great skill of adaptability, while you were also okay with the fact that you didn't know a few questions, yet you went ahead with the
Yes. Um, so if we talk about the background work, there was a lot that went in with attending the regular lectures by you or Mayur sir and doing our own research on ourselves, getting to know yourself because I am someone jisko pata bhi nahi tha ki what are my strengths and weaknesses. So trying to understand and know myself was one challenge which I was able to overcome through a lot of retrospection. Um, and when it comes to the D day, one thing that helped me is when you're talking to people around you, the other candidates do not talk about uh, what questions are being asked. Have you prepared this? Have you done that? No. Have natural conversations as you would in a networking event, I would say. Keep it more friendly, more light. Don't think about ki interview mein kya aane wala hai. Let's just focus on that. Because everybody gets asked different questions. And if you hear about some questions being extremely difficult, it is going to affect your confidence and it will affect your interview.
This
Because
is
it
a
can
really
happen that
good
your
point.
interview,
This is very important.
yes,
The waiting room conversations that get to you at the last moment. So this is something. This is a great tip.
Yeah. And for the first interview, I did not interact with people a lot. But when I was at TAPMI, I was able to do it more gracefully because we were in a neutral environment. It was at a business hotel. Narsi Munji was at the campus. So there were a lot of people, including the students. So environment also matters a little, I would say, but it's also how you approach it. Try to have good conversations with people around. Maybe try to understand what background are they from, which city are they coming from, what are their future plans, what have they done,
That
etc.
helps you to maintain your calm.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
All
It
right.
also takes your mind off of yourself.
Right. And plus, I think if you can see your future in that institute and you ever get to meet again, so that ice is already broken.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
and as a part of a business school program that you're going to soon be a part of, this part is very important where you start networking and talking with people who are known, but mostly who are unknown to you. And plus, understand a perspective which is not from coming from selfish motives that I want to know the questions asked, or basically not seeing them as competitors who will be sitting in the same bat, same GD as you. So, creating that congenial bond, congenial relation is something that is like really less spoken of, and I'm so glad that you brought it up here. So great. So these are the few strategies that you use. Now, can you just tell us how did the wire training help you with your preparation journey and all the strategy on implementing all these strategies that you just spoke about?
Definitely. So I think the entire model of the community having your own coaches and mentors, it forms a really good support system. If I take the example of Yukta ma'am, who is my personal coach, I can go to her for anything. Even if I just need some emotional or mental support, it does not have to be in relation to just skill building or achieving what I want. But the fact that somebody is there with you throughout this journey, that is one aspect that has really helped. Um,
So
it
having your personal coach to
yes,
deal with the non-academic, non-technical uh,
yes.
challenges that you might come across in your preparation journey. Great.
So that kind of a backbone support really helps. And
Right.
of course, then it comes to your mentors and coaches who are actually engaging with you on day-to-day basis, be it via, your queries on group chats or during lectures and classes. Uh, Also, I just feel like all lectures were very systematically based, especially for the skills training, like the leadership council call or the selection mastery training. Uh, I just feel like the structure was very good because I am someone who likes organized things, planned things. So I really appreciate when there is a structure in instruction methods. So for me, that is something that has really, really helped. And knowing that you can approach your coaches and mentor at any time with any questions, and there will be no judgment, there will be just pure understanding, help, and support. I think that has really helped.
So round the clock assistant,
Yes.
hand holding, doubt clarity. Would you also like to tell us something about the process of getting your DAFs or SOPs reviewed? So was the community helpful? Were the coaches and mentors helpful with the same?
Definitely. So I remember when we had our first SOP session or a DAV session, I didn't know what to write. Matlab, I used to like storytelling is not my forte. So understanding कि कैसे चालू करूँ, कैसे शुरू करूँ, क्या बोलूँ अपने बारे में was a challenge, which got cleared through sessions and through writing a few drafts. And I remember that I had to submit my SOP for one of the institute, and I was a little late because I was caught up on a lot of things. And I sent you my SOP, and you were kind enough to, review it as quickly as possible and give me feedback on what is to be changed. So yeah, I like that the coaches and mentors are always there for you, even if it is last minute. Although that's like we have to take ownership, but just knowing that you can fall back on them for the entire process. I also just want to say that even though there is support, we have to take our own ownership and do things on time so you don't face these last minute challenges like I did. But yeah, the entire structure of these classes who helped me to understand who I am and how to approach writing an SOP. You also recommended me to read a book, an autobiography, which would help, with a little storytelling, story building. So yeah, I think just it's all in the little things, I would say.
Great.
Like, Yeah.
So, while you were preparing for all of this, and while you were saying that it helped you to know better, so would you feel, looking back, like you said in retrospect, that while you thought that this is something that could be done in a 1 month or a 2 month period post CAT or post the entrance exams that you appear for? So, do you think your level of preparation would match the level of preparation that you were almost involved in since a year? So, what would you recommend to the candidates?
Uh, I didn't completely understand the question. It's
So,
about
basically, what I'm trying to say is a lot of candidates believe in starting to prepare for the selection process, the SOPs, the DAFs, pretty late, like post completing their CAT,
Mhm.
specifically like the CAT and other management entrance tests, NMAT, CAT, that. And then they think that after we get the calls, we will probably do a crash course of a 10-15 days, mastery training, and then we'll become experts. So, do you think that being involved in this process for almost an year, uh, do you think that it was way too much preparation in advance, or do you think that you should go that way? Like candidates should go that way?
okay. Doing it in advance is not that you're doing it बहुत पहले से, because it's well spaced out, right? The sessions are well spaced out. You get your own time. The thing that happens if you wait till last minute is you will come up with a 500 SOP. That's not a problem. Writing words is not going to be the issue. But writing a genuine SOP from the heart is going to be an issue, because you would have not had time to know yourself better. You don't know what you like. You don't know what are your strengths and your weaknesses. You won't be able to lay out a perfect story. So I think that's one challenge you might face if you wait till the end. But starting from the beginning, at least you know ki I am having a difficulty in this area, and maybe I need to do some background work. Maybe I need to start reading autobiographies. Maybe I need to speak to people to understand ki kaise likhte hai. So doing this in advance is the great option. Like
Great,
हमको सिर्फ 500 words लिख के भेजना नहीं है. We want to do it thoughtfully.
great. So, right, if you want the quality to be good, you need to be consistent and
Yes.
you need to be prepared in order to do that so that it's not a plagiarized piece of content that you're sharing.
Yes.
So, really appreciate. Final question, and then we'll wrap up this conversation, Rashi. What do you think about the mock interview experience? And did the questions that you were asked during the mock interview help you with regards to, and the kind of answers, the feedback that you received? Did it help you with your final interviews? There's still a few to go, but with whatever experiences you've shared with us so
Yes, definitely. So I had a few interviews with Yukta ma'am as well. Those interviews helped a lot with hygiene questions and profile based questions. A lot of it will be repeated in the interviews, and it was. It might not be the same words, but घुमा फिरा के वो आंसर देना ही पड़ता है. So it really helps. And the interviews that I had with you, a lot of the concepts got clarified. Like I said, during my interview with you, you had asked me about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and I was blank. As a psychology student, that should have not happened. And in my GIM interview, I had to talk about the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So something will always come up, and it will really help. So this practice hygiene question ke liye to definitely. Conceptually, it may or may not come. Luckily enough for me, it did, and it might for others also. So yeah, it really helped.
Great. So glad to know that basically it is always a great experience when the questions that you're prepared for, you've received feedback on, the same kind of questions are asked in your final interview, that too for such prestigious institutes. So
Definitely.
when you said that something helped you maintain the calm, something helped you feel light, you were not shook up, you were adaptable. So it is your dedication and your hard work for a complete year, being
Yeah.
completely into it, following all these little steps. Like you said that it all lies in the small details, but you were always completing those little steps, be it reading an autobiography from cover to cover to sending, I think, a number of drafts of your SOP for review until you and I both were 100% satisfied. Plus, the kind of feedback that you took the initiative to learn about the Maslow's hierarchy and then implement it in your interview in a very strategic manner. You were not
Yes.
specifically asked to mention Maslow's hierarchy. You were asked to explain a concept. But
Correct.
that's something that you immediately connected with because of your recent experience during the
Correct.
mock interview.
Yes.
So I mean, a lot of things aligned, and you made a lot of things aligned during the interview, which takes a lot of practice and a lot of determination. So congratulations, Rashi, on successfully completing your top three interviews, and wishing you the very best for the upcoming interviews.
Thank
And
you.
let's see what the future holds. Thank you so much. See you
Thank
soon.
you.